everyone, so for making this ramp, I'm going to be using some 1/4 inch luan and some 3/8 inch plywood. So now let's get to the plan. So as I was saying earlier, I want this ramp to be light, strong, and portable. The sides that make the shape of the ramp will be out of 3/8 inch plywood, and then the top will be out of really thin luan wood. So this ramp consists of two main parts, the takeoff and the landing. So the takeoff is the part that you'll be jumping off mainly, and then the landing is a little bit more mellower just to land and have a nice transition. So to make this ramp really portable, I'm actually going to be cutting it in half on this dotted line. This will allow me to fit the takeoff into the landing so it's very small and compact. And to give this whole ramp a lot more structural integrity, just because I'm using thin plywood, I'm going to be coating it in this very durable weatherproof coating. I will show that later in the video, and it also has texture to give more grip on tires. So to not bore you guys anymore, let's go ahead and just make a nice curve for this ramp, and we can go cut it out with a jigsaw. So I have one side of the ramp cut out. I really like the shape of it. I think the takeoff looks really good, and then the landing has a nice mellow transition. So now that we have one half, I need to go ahead and cut out the other side. You guys saw I just used a normal jigsaw and it worked great. It cut it out and it just took me about 10 minutes. And also, since I used an 8-foot piece of plywood and my ramp is 4 feet, I can get the other side on the other half of the wood. Just like that, it is cut out. We got both pieces, so now let's just go put them together. Now, before I put this whole thing together and it's too hard to cut in half, I'm gonna go ahead and put these two pieces together again and just go to the chop saw, and I'm just gonna cut these two pieces in half. You could also just use the jigsaw, or if you don't even want to cut it in half, you don't have to. You might be asking if I ruined my ramp. Don't really have an answer for that one. Okay, everyone, so now I have this pile of wood here. Not really looking like a ramp anymore, but we will make it look like one in just a minute. So I'm just gonna start with the takeoff, and what we need to do is make some braces so that the ramp sits apart and keeps these two pieces strong, just like this. And the braces are gonna be made out of this 2x4, but since this is too wide, we're gonna cut it right in half, so it'll basically be a 2x2. Let's go ahead and cut this in half on the table saw. Oh, and right before we cut this 2x4 in half, I got a quick fact about them. They're actually not 2x4 inches, they're actually 1.5 by 3.5. So now that we have that covered, we're gonna be setting the table saw at 1 3/4 so that we can cut this 2x4 straight in the middle. Okay, everyone, so now I have the 2x4 ripped in half, and now I just need to cut them in sections, and however long I cut the sections is how wide the ramp is gonna be. And you need to keep note, if you're gonna be cutting your ramp in half so it folds underneath, the front, the takeoff, is gonna need to be slightly skinnier than the rear ramp so it can slide and fold underneath. So say if your front ramp is 2 feet wide, then your rear needs to be at least 2 feet and 1 inch. So let's go ahead and cut a couple of these for the front and then add an extra inch for the rear. So the first support is going to be bolted right on the top of the ramp where it's going to need the most strength. I'm just going to shoot 2 screws through each side. And speaking of screws, I'm using these decking screws that have really shallow heads, so you won't really see them and they won't protrude out of any wood. And these will also be perfect for the deck on top of the ramp. So I went ahead and put the other beam in, and they're looking great. This thing's really sturdy right now, and it's super light. I'm really surprised at how light it is. But just off camera, I cut one more supporting beam just because we're gonna need one more mounting spot for the layer to go on top. So I'm just gonna go ahead and bolt this in real quick, and then we can get to the other side. Takeoff ramp is finally complete. It's feeling really solid just with these 3 supporting beams, and all it needs to be a complete ramp is the veneer on top so you can ride on it. So now that I have that one out of the way, we need to finish the second landing ramp. So all I'm gonna do is just follow the same exact steps as I did for the first one. So since I already showed it, let's go ahead and do it. Just like that, the second ramp is finished. So now both frames are really sturdy and just need the veneer. So as I was saying earlier, I'm gonna be using this 1/8 inch luan as the top of the ramp. So all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pre-drill holes in the luan and through the ramp, and I'm just gonna shoot some screws through the luan and into the plywood, and then just keep on bending it over. But I'm gonna have to cut it in half so the 2 ramps are separate. So let's go ahead and just cut the luan to size, and then we can start bending it on the ramps. To width, we need to cut it to length. So a good way to figure out how long you need the top surface to be is to first take your ramp and roll it over any bends it has, so it's on one edge of the ramp. Once you have it squared up with the end of the luan, you want to slowly roll it forward so it ends at the very tip. Then you just want to mark where the longest tip is, and that's where you want to cut it. This way you'll get the exact length for the ramp because it's accommodating for any bends and curves. So let's go ahead and mark it, and then we can cut it up. Okay, so now the top for this ramp has been cut, and it looks like it's the perfect size. So we'll screw that on in a minute. But first, we need to cut another top for the landing ramp. I'm just gonna use this bigger piece of luan, and I'm just gonna cut a top for it and follow the same exact procedure. But wait, I have a faster way. And just like that, here's the top for the second ramp. So now we're just gonna go ahead and drill some pilot holes, and we're just gonna screw in the tops of both ramps. So now I just have the first top set of screws done. I did put a lot here just so the wood wouldn't warp whenever I bend it down. So I just spaced these 4 inches apart, and I'm probably gonna do the same for the sides, but then I'm just gonna put a couple on the supporting beams. now this ramp is done, you can see my screw pattern. I did a lot at the top and then just kept on getting less and less into the bottom on the supporting beams, and then just did 4-inch spacing on the sides. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and quickly do this side. And just like that, the top has been screwed on, so that only means one thing. Both ramps are complete. So as of right now, you could definitely ride these ramps. But for the sake of weatherproofing it, I'm going to put a very strong coat of paint onto these ramps. It'll not only give it grip, but it'll also make it weatherproof, as I was saying earlier. So now let's go put some paint on the surface and the sides. Okay everyone, so I transported outside and I have the 2 ramps on sawhorses ready to be painted. Here's the paint I'm using. It's made by Rust-Oleum and it's for decks, so it's obviously gonna be weatherproof. And probably the coolest thing about this paint is that it has almost a sand-like texture, so it's very grippy and will make your tires stick to the ramp. So I'll go ahead and open this and I can just start wiping it on. So now the ramps are painted. They're looking so good. As you can tell, this stuff is super thick and almost looks like concrete, but it's gonna have an amazing grip just because of how sandy it is. But you can see I painted the whole entire ramp on the landing part, but I only painted this top surface for the takeoff. The reason for that is so that the takeoff will still fit into the landing, because if I paint it, it's gonna be too tight to fit into there, and the portability feature will just basically be gone. So I'm gonna let these dry and then we can get to the test. Okay, it's looking really good. Whoa! Hey! Hey, you! Ah, he's a goner. Who is this kid? Wow. So I really hope you enjoyed that part of the video of Tate and I jumping these jumps. But wait, not only bikes can jump these jumps. Let's see what else can. Okay everyone, so thank you so much for watching this video and staying to the end. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe learned a thing or two while you're watching. This ramp set turned out pretty good and it's actually really fun to ride. There's only one design flaw and it's that the front ramp is a little bit too short. What I mean by too short is if you compress too hard, the front ramp will tilt. So to solve that issue for my ramp, I made this little kickstand to support the front ramp when you ride over it. So the best way to fix this issue would to make the front ramp slightly longer, just like the rear ramp at 2.5 feet. This might make the whole ramp assembly be 5 feet, but will be a lot better than crashing and doing what I did.
It's gonna be 4 feet.
But other than that, this ramp is super strong and it can take just about anything. And did I mention it's very strong? So once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and that's just about it for this video, so I'll catch you on the next one.